This seven-nation coalition launches a massive space assault against the Blood Emperor's stronghold, the Blood Tomb, but with the Emperor absent from the front lines, his elite forces are quickly losing ground, leaving the Blood Emperor himself to demand the identity of the mysterious warrior who breached his defenses. While a system notification confirms the final stage of the event is complete after 36 intense minutes, and our protagonist, the victor, simply wonders aloud about his own identity in the aftermath of battle. Standing tall with his blade drawn as the digital remnants of the game world begin to fade, he casually dismisses the Emperor's confusion by claiming to be nothing more than a helpful passing player, which naturally infuriates the defeated ruler, who demands to know what that makes him in this scenario. But our guy brushes off the question, clearly unimpressed by the boss's desperate need for some validation, and drops the ultimate flex by revealing he has already cleared this stage 78 times before today. Our protagonist mocks the boss's edgy title, calling it way too childish for his taste, while the defeated ruler claims his true identity was lost to the sands of time, but the hero cuts him off, clearly annoyed by the excessive and overly dramatic dialogue. Deciding that a quick end would be too boring, he prepares a special golden spell, and surrounds the stunned boss in a glowing restorative light that catches him off guard. As the system confirms the use of a powerful healing item on the Blood Emperor, leaving the boss shocked to realize he is being saved by the sacred Stellar Temple. While our guy explains he has no use for such items and prefers a challenge, he then offers to help the boss deal with the 7 nations that attacked him, leaving the ruler confused about his true allegiance since he is clearly not one of them. Our protagonist clarifies that he has no intention of helping the 7 nations win today. He instead challenges the Blood Emperor to consider if he truly wants to perish here. But the suspicious ruler immediately assumes the hero just wants to turn him into a puppet, which the hero denies, explaining he is only interested in creating an entirely different outcome because he is tired of the status quo and wants to forge a brand new world. He reflects on the 1,000 years of stagnation, questioning if the boss understands that burden, and with a manic laugh, he demands the Emperor join him in changing their reality. Even though the stunned ruler calls him a total madman for suggesting such a partnership, this boss realizes he is trapped by this ruthless player and has no room for refusal, so he finally concedes, accepting that his fate is no longer his own to control. Our protagonist pushes the Blood Emperor to join his cause and finally destroy this world, but a sudden system notification interrupts them, announcing the completion of the closed beta test, and the hero is visibly stunned by the change in the system's usually robotic voice, while the interface declares that the game is now officially entering its open beta phase, leaving our guy completely blindsided by this unexpected and massive shift in the game's status. As the digital environment begins to warp and shift violently around the 2 stunned combatants, this Blood Emperor erupts in manic laughter, clearly thrilled that the long wait is over, while a massive swirling portal of data opens up to consume the entire battlefield area. This system initiates an integrity check for the new phase, causing even more digital instability, and the screen flashes with critical error warnings as the game world descends into chaos. Critical errors flood the interface as the game world undergoes a massive forced data initialization, and the system confirms the process is successful, signaling a total reboot of the environment. While the announcement declares the official start of the open beta phase for all players, our protagonist opens his eyes to find himself in a completely transformed and unfamiliar space. Standing before a towering pillar of light that seems to be the gateway to this reality, he steps forward, drawn toward the energy as a familiar digital guide appears to greet him. This guide welcomes him to the Soletis and asks for his name to finalize his registration. He notes how fake she seems, but proceeds to register his ID while she prompts him. A selection screen appears, offering him the choice between a purebred human or a cybernetic modification. She warns him that the cybernetic path offers superior starting stats, but he remains unmoved nonetheless. He listens as the guide explains the tech-heavy perks of the cybernetic race, but he quickly rejects the offer, knowing the long-term traps hidden in that path, because cybernetic bodies lose out on late-game potential and mysterious class abilities. Plus, he refuses to lock himself out of powerful gear restricted to humans, so he considers the special start option but remains wary of its unpredictable nature, ultimately choosing the regular start to avoid any unnecessary and annoying random events. Recalling how past attempts at special starts led to being mistaken for wanted criminals, he decides to play it safe and avoid an immediate trip to space prison. But the system glitches during his registration, detecting his existing data and merging it, and he finally wakes up in a new room, ready to conquer this world. Waking up in a sterile, unfamiliar room, he wonders where he has actually ended up, as a helpful medical bot rolls in to congratulate him on his supposed recovery from battle. But he immediately senses something is wrong, since his starting location is completely different than expected, and the bot explains he was brought here as a wounded soldier from the recent conflict, clarifying that this facility is a specialized hospital built by the 7 nations for their troops, so he dismisses the machine to gain some privacy and process this strange new reality alone. Feeling constantly monitored, he realizes that his personal status has been completely wiped and reset, leaving him to wonder if every other beta player is currently dealing with the same situation. He decides to investigate the situation by accessing the player forum for some much-needed answers, and finally taps the digital interface to see what the rest of the community is saying. Scrolling through the forums, he finds a thread about the most mischievous player. While other users post post ridiculous screenshots of their own chaotic adventures with various NPCs. And some even share evidence of their failed attempts at completing difficult purchase challenges, which leads him to mock the flamboyant behavior of these players in the open beta. But then he notices the current date on his interface and freezes in total shock, realizing that the calendar shows May. Despite him starting the beta back in February, he clutches his head in disbelief, struggling to reconcile his long in-game history with reality. Sitting in silence as he tries to process the massive time discrepancy he just discovered, he checks a post offering a huge reward for any information on closed beta players, and watches as the community debates the existence of awakeners, leaving him completely unsettled. He stares at the screen in disbelief, struggling to accept that the closed beta vanished, while the forums explain that the game is the only path to becoming an awakener, and he recalls how he rushed into the closed beta to secure that exact advantage. But now he sits in his hospital bed, questioning if his entire journey was fake. He stares at his own hands, wondering if 1,000 years of history were real, drifting through a mental void as he doubts his own status as a living being, and he floats in the cosmic silence. Questioning if he even exists in this reality, he wonders if he is just a programmed NPC designed for some twisted testing purpose. Yet he cannot reconcile that theory with his vivid memories of countless past life cycles, and he remains haunted by the question of why his experiences feel so painfully authentic. Deciding to stop overthinking his existential crisis, he resolves to focus on his own goals. Gripping his sword with renewed purpose as he prepares to climb back to the top, he steps through the portal, ready to find the answers hidden within this new world. Arriving at Qingfeng City, the bustling northern hub of the vast celestial martial empire, he navigates the crowded streets, ignoring the other players as he heads toward his destination. Stopping in his tracks, he confirms that he has finally reached the location he sought. Standing before the Dark Dragon 6th Division, the Empire's elite intelligence and operations headquarters, he knows that grinding low-level mobs is a waste of time for a veteran like him. Planning to secure all the best resources early while leaving only scraps for the others, he marches straight into the mission hall, determined to dominate the game from the start. He strolls past the confused guards, completely ignoring their protests as he heads upstairs, while other players watch in disbelief, wondering how he bypassed the strict reputation requirements. But he knows the system logic is easily manipulated by his unique hidden NPC attributes. So he hands a note to the guard, confident that the division head will comply, walking straight toward the office door with the calm assurance of a seasoned veteran. And the guard quickly opens the way, letting him enter the restricted inner sanctum. He steps inside and shuts the door behind him, cutting off the outside world, finding the division head waiting at the desk, surrounded by a high-tech command interface. As the leader demands to know his identity, clearly suspicious of this unexpected visitor, he activates his Eye of Insight, ready to reveal the secrets hidden in plain sight. Kong Yue sits in her command chair, completely unaware of the storm about to hit, as his Eye of Insight instantly breaks down her entire profile and high-level combat stats. Leaving her visibly rattled when he reveals secrets she thought were buried deep underground, he casually offers to recover her lost teammates, knowing exactly which buttons to push now. Pointing out the political red tape that prevents her from entering the Celestial Mountains alone, she stares at him in disbelief, wondering how this stranger knows her deepest professional struggles. He leans in to offer a solution, effectively turning the tables on the division head, dropping the names of her fallen comrades to shatter her defenses and secure her trust. This system confirms a massive boost in her favorability, proving his manipulative tactics work perfectly, and he walks away with a smirk, leaving her stunned while he plans his next move. He presses for more information, leaving the division head questioning his true identity, as she tries to wrap her head around his mysterious and confident demeanor. But she eventually decides to take a leap of faith and trust him, earning a satisfied grin from our hero as he secures her tentative cooperation. Though she draws a hard line, refusing to provide any official support or resources, she gets flustered when he teases her about showing genuine concern for his safety, causing her to lose her cool completely as she denies having any such feelings. He laughs off her outburst and prepares to leave, reminding her to arrange transport, while he internally notes how she remains as predictably stubborn as he remembers her, and she is left fuming in her office as he makes his smooth exit. Kong Yu demands to know how he discovered her secret past, clearly rattled by his knowledge. While outside the mission hall, other players gather to gossip about his mysterious and bold entrance. This system alerts him that his manipulation worked, triggering a high-stakes hidden mission for her team. He reviews the SSS rank mission details, which promise massive rewards for a dangerous recovery operation. Without a second thought, he taps the accept button to lock in his next big move. But as he exits the office, he is immediately cornered by a group of persistent players. These guys clearly think they have found a hidden gem and try to intimidate him. They desperately pitch their guild, hoping to recruit him before he realizes his own worth. He listens to their sales pitch with a mix of amusement and total lack of interest, and with a sly look, he prepares to shut down their pathetic attempt at recruitment. He coolly challenges the recruiter to explain exactly why he should even care about them, while the eager guild member brags about elite status and a decent monthly salary package. But our protagonist just laughs off their desperate sales pitch like it is a joke. This recruiter tries to flex his hard-earned guild perks, acting like he is doing favors. Yet the kid finds the whole interaction incredibly dull, and beneath his actual skill level, he brushes them off with a flat rejection, walking away without a second thought given, leaving the stunned recruiters reaching out in vain as he exits the mission hall entirely. They stand there in total disbelief that their generous offer was so easily tossed aside, quickly scrambling to report the failure to their superiors while losing out on reputation points. Meanwhile, he heads straight for the northern plains to start his real work in earnest. This Cold Moon Guild leaders coordinate their pursuit, desperate to track down our mysterious protagonist. They obsess over his impossible reputation score, baffled by how he outpaced their collective efforts, speculating that he must be exploiting high-level hidden missions or secret game mechanics. This guild leader decides that securing his cooperation is now their absolute top priority. She orders her subordinate to spare no expense in tracking him down at any cost. Meanwhile, our hero shops for essential gear, calmly preparing for his upcoming expedition. He eyes the shopkeeper's inventory, specifically hunting for rare items to boost his survival odds. Selecting a high-tier invisibility potion, he knows exactly how to leverage this for his advantage, finalizing his purchases. He remains focused on the mission ahead while ignoring the surrounding noise. But a sudden system alert reveals he is being tracked, forcing him to stay sharp. He scans the rooftops, instantly locking onto the mysterious figure, trailing his every move, activating his sensory skills to pinpoint the exact location of the unwanted stalker, and he lunges forward, catching the intruder off guard before they can even react, pulling out his weapon to intimidate the small cat-eared creature now pinned beneath him. His eyes widen in pure shock as he realizes exactly who he has just cornered. While the little NPC desperately tries to play nice, clinging to his leg for mercy, she complains about the person who leaked his location, clearly regretting her current assignment. He checks her status, only to find the system flagging her as a walking calamity, and he scoffs at the game's ridiculous classification, wondering why such a threat exists here, while the system warns that his aggressive behavior is already tanking her favorability rating. This cat-eared stalker vents her frustration, blaming her guild for this disastrous assignment, while she clings to our hero, desperately trying to salvage the situation somehow. He realizes the system allows him to assign missions to other players directly, finding it hilarious that he can now treat these players like his own personal NPCs. He reviews the interface, noting the specific constraints and rewards he can offer. She stares at the incoming notification, completely stunned by the sudden mission prompt. He sets a demanding purchase task, forcing her to hunt down rare, high-tier equipment. She is overwhelmed by the massive experience reward, which dwarfs anything her guild achieved. He watches her reaction with a smirk, fully aware of the chaos he is causing. And as she accepts the mission, he knows he has successfully turned the tables. He sets a strict 1-hour deadline for his new recruit to complete the task, and she immediately snaps to attention, fully committed to following his every single command. She quickly locates the rare heavy element bombs, despite the daunting price tag involved. This merchant on the other end of the line balks at the massive cost required. She panics over the astronomical price, knowing most players barely have a fraction of that. Yet he remains unbothered, betting that the rival guild has the resources to handle it. He keeps his cool, confident that his plan will unfold exactly as he expects. She returns with the goods, having successfully secured the high-tier items he demanded earlier. They finalize the transaction through the interface, locking in the powerful new gear, and he reviews the devastating stats of the bombs, ready to unleash them on everyone. He confirms the transaction, watching the system log his success with a satisfied grin, while the cat-eared NPC's favorability rating ticks up. Though she remains a total stranger, she tries to play it cool, acting submissive just to stay in his good graces. But a sudden system update shows her favorability dropping again, making things awkward for everyone. She desperately tries to backtrack, promising to handle any task he throws her way. He probes her resolve with a smirk, curious to see how far she will go. She pledges her full commitment to his service, clearly hoping for some major rewards. While he realizes the sheer potential of treating players like his own personal game assets, he dismisses her with a casual wave, letting her know where to find him later, and she eagerly agrees to his terms, completely hooked on the prospect of his favor. Chenmo realizes the missions system gives him total control over his new player pawn, and he warns her to keep their secret alliance hidden from her prying guildmates. She immediately broadcasts a rally cry to her guild, setting his complex plan in motion. Arriving at the Celestial Martial Mountains, he prepares to navigate the dangerous high-level monster zone. Using a clever scent masking item, he bypasses the aggressive wildlife without wasting any precious energy. He mimics top-tier assassin stealth techniques, effortlessly slipping past a massive snarling beast in weight. Moving with the confidence of a veteran, he leaps across the treacherous, rocky terrain. Reaching a pivotal vantage point, he knows exactly where his grand strategy must unfold. Standing tall atop a lonely pillar, he surveys the chaotic landscape with absolute focus. As a swarm of deadly serpents surrounds his position, he prepares to unleash his trap. Chen Mo identifies the mountain giant python, noting its dangerous tail whip and stun potential. He readies his gear, launching a precise projectile to trigger his carefully laid trap. This serpent swarm the area, completely unaware that they are walking into a lethal snare. He dives into the thick of the chaos, dodging fangs while maintaining his offensive momentum, landing a heavy strike on the lead python. He keeps the rest of the pack distracted. His combat instincts take over as he clears the remaining threats with calculated, efficient movements. Standing amidst the aftermath, he surveys the field to ensure no other monsters are lurking. Catching his breath for a brief moment, he prepares himself for the next wave ahead. He spots a group of high-level beasts grazing in the distance, signaling a new challenge. This system highlights a single-horned raging bull, warning him of its devastating charge and coordination. Shenmue calculates the perfect strategy to trigger the bull's special passive ability, pulling out a rare invisibility potion to ensure he remains undetected during the approach, and he downs the foul-tasting concoction without a second thought for his own comfort. Grimacing at the terrible flavor while he prepares to make his move across the field, he quickly follows up with an agility boost to maximize his speed and reaction time, darting forward with newfound swiftness to bypass the dangerous herd while still hidden from sight. Sprinting across the open plains like a blur, he weaves through the grazing monsters effortlessly, but the distance is vast and the beasts are starting to sense something is wrong. His invisibility effect begins to fade just as he reaches the edge of the zone, and the raging bulls immediately lock onto his position, ready to unleash a devastating charge. Shenmue flashes a knowing grin, firing a grappling hook to secure his position. He swings across the chasm with practiced ease, landing perfectly to survey the area. Checking his intel, he confirms this is the burial site he was looking for. He approaches the remains, only to realize these are not the people he expected. Noticing the gear on the skeletons, he deduces they were victims of a mysterious ambush. He inspects a weathered logbook found near the bones, senses a much deeper mystery. This system immediately registers a unique advanced mission based on the recovered historical records. However, the book remains locked, requiring higher-level requirements before he can access it. He realizes this item is essential for his current quest. Despite the temporary restriction tucking the log away, he prepares to move forward, confident his plan is working. Shenmue arrives at the hidden location, trusting his memory to guide the way. His boot strikes something metallic buried in the dirt, catching his immediate attention. He pauses to inspect the discovery, realizing it is far more significant than expected. Identifying the blade as standard issue gear from the ancient celestial martial empire, he spots a ghostly remnant lingering near the water, hinting at a tragic past. This remains of a fallen soldier rest against the rock, confirming his grim suspicions. He recalls that Kong Yue lost 4 comrades, yet only 3 have been recovered. Searching his fading memories, he traces the path toward the final missing piece. Arriving at a dark, ominous cave entrance, he knows the truth lies inside. He smirks, realizing the final objective is hidden deep within this dangerous dungeon. Shenmue realizes the labyrinthine cave system is a death trap for his limited resources. He pushes forward with urgency, desperate to locate the boss before his stealth wears thin. Suddenly, he spots the massive creature lurking in the shadows, guarding a pile of remains. This system reveals a terrifying Lord-level spider with high-speed attacks and advanced detection capabilities. He pauses to weigh the risks, knowing that a single mistake could lead to permanent consequences. Quickly discarding his initial combat strategies, he acknowledges the massive power gap between them. A spark of inspiration hits him as he spots a potential opening in the monster's defense. He downs his remaining potions in one go, betting everything on a high-stakes speed play. Drawing the beast's attention, he forces the creature to reveal its position from the dark. This monster lunges with lethal intent, but Shenmue is already prepared to counter its strike. Shenmue realizes the Lord-level spider has already picked up on his presence, and the beast immediately cuts off every escape route with its massive, sharp limbs. But he spots a structural weakness in the cave wall that he can exploit. Seizing the perfect moment to execute his plan while the creature is distracted, he slides across the cavern floor, narrowly avoiding a lethal strike from the monster. This spider lashes out with blinding speed, tearing up the ground where he stood, but its heavy blow only hits empty air as he maneuvers into a better position. He keeps his distance, carefully baiting the creature into a more vulnerable, open stance, taunting the spider to keep its focus entirely on him instead of his surroundings. And the enraged beast lunges forward, falling straight into his carefully prepared trap. This trap detonates with a massive shockwave, catching the Lord-level spider completely off guard. Shenmue uses the chaos to reposition, narrowly dodging the beast's sweeping, razor-sharp limbs. He sprints toward the cave exit, desperate to put some distance between him and danger, launching his final heavy element bomb with pinpoint accuracy right into the monster's path. This device latches onto the spider's shell, glowing with an ominous high-energy magnetic field. A blinding explosion rocks the cavern, overwhelming the creature with sheer concentrated force. He braces himself against the ground, channeling his remaining energy into his trusty blade, confident that his magnetic locking strategy will leave the boss helpless and wide open. This spider reels from the status effects, completely blinded and stunned by the blast. With the threat neutralized, he finally collects his loot and prepares to head home. Shenmue strolls through the city, fully aware that he is being tailed by amateurs. He ducks into an alleyway, letting a smirk lay across his face as he waits. Clearly unimpressed by their lack of subtlety, he prepares to teach them a quick lesson. The stalkers realize they have been spotted and panic, scrambling to hide their tracks. Meanwhile, their cat-eared leader sends an urgent message, warning them not to provoke him further. She demands they apologize and retreat immediately if they want to keep their heads attached. This nervous duo receives the order, realizing they are way out of their depth here. Back at the base, the division head checks in, eager to see if the mission succeeded. Shenmue plays it cool, acting as if the entire retrieval was a simple walk. He presents the recovered remains, finally bringing closure to the tragic fate of her comrades. Kong Yu expresses her deep gratitude as the weight of the past finally lifts. Shenmue watches her with a detached sigh, keeping his professional distance from her emotion. He offers a brief word of comfort, placing a hand on her shoulder to stabilize. This system immediately signals a boost in her favorability, proving his manipulation is working perfectly. A notification pops up confirming the hidden mission is complete and the rewards are secured. He smirks to himself, knowing that half a day of effort is about to pay. Turning away from the scene, he leaves her to process the closure he just provided. He pulls up his interface, eager to see exactly what his hard work has earned. Scanning his inventory slots, he finds the items he was hunting for all along. His eyes widen with genuine excitement as he realizes the true value of his prize. Chen-Mo stares in disbelief as the legendary Starshine set materializes before his eyes, realizing this gear is the ultimate game changer for his current progression path. This system details its insane stats, offering near invincibility against low-level threats and massive damage. He calculates the sheer dominance this provides, effectively turning him into a god-tier player. Wondering if this rare version is a glitch or a relic from a lost era, he shifts his focus to the remaining rewards. Eager to see what else awaits, a system prompt forces a difficult choice, reminding him that nothing comes for free. This first option is a genetic reagent, promising to push his physical limits beyond humanity. Next is a Crystal of Awakening, the key to unlocking diverse elemental and psychic powers. Finally, a blueprint for a cybernetic core offers a path toward near immortality through technology. Chen-Mo dismisses the cybernetic core. Knowing its long-term potential is far too limited, he skips the Sorcerer's Scroll as well, despite its reputation for high-tier damage output. Because he has no interest in trading his survivability for a glass cannon playstyle, his eyes lock onto the mysterious magic potion, a legendary item from the beta. Even with the risk of mental instability, he knows this path leads to godhood. He grabs the elixir with a confident smirk, completely unfazed by the dangerous side effects. Securing the potion, he turns to Kong Yeo and asks for a private space. She looks up, clearly surprised by his sudden request but willing to assist him, leading him to a secure room. She ensures they have absolute privacy for his work. He thanks her and shuts the door, ready to begin his transformation in peace. Chen-Mo sits in the quiet room, preparing to consume the legendary magic potion. He downs the liquid in one go, expecting an immediate surge of immense power, but he finds the taste surprisingly mild and wonders if the rumors were exaggerated. He stretches his arms, feeling perfectly fine while questioning the hype behind the item. Suddenly, his expression shifts as a sharp, unexpected jolt pulses through his entire body. Clutching his chest in agony, he realizes the true, volatile nature of the elixir. This world around him begins to fracture into digital shards as his reality destabilizes. A blinding blue light erupts from his core, consuming the room in raw energy. Waves of intense heat wash over him, forcing him to endure the painful transformation. He collapses backward, his body undergoing a radical change as the system power takes hold. Chen-Mo shivers as the intense cold of the transformation takes hold of his body. This system floods his vision with notifications confirming his successful class transfer to Novice Mystic. His stats skyrocket across the board as his mana bar is replaced by spiritual power. Waking up in a daze, he stares blankly at the ceiling while processing the sudden change. He bolts upright, gasping for air as the residual energy of the elixir settles down. A dark, intense look crosses his eyes, hinting at the newfound power coursing through him. He flexes his hands with a satisfied smirk, knowing his gamble has paid off perfectly. Stepping out of the room, he finds Kong Yue waiting patiently for his return. She asks about his belongings, but her sharp eyes immediately lock onto his changed demeanor. Sensing an unsettling shift in his aura, she wonders if he is still the same person. Chen-Mo brushes off the awkward tension, clearly ready to move on from their little chat. He turns his back on Kong Yue, signaling that his business here is officially finished, tossing a parting note her way. He leaves her stunned and confused by his sudden departure. He reflects on the game's evolving state, confident that his beta knowledge remains his greatest asset. Plotting his next move, he recalls a hidden weapon location near the city's north gate. Suddenly, a surprise interruption snaps him out of his thoughts as a voice calls out. He finds the cat-eared leader waiting for him, looking way too eager to start something. Realizing she is the one who sent those stalkers, he decides to test his new authority. He trolls her by issuing a ridiculous low-stakes mission to buy a single piece of fruit. She accepts the absurd task without hesitation, leaving her completely baffled by his strange request. This system notification pops up, offering a measly single coin as a reward, leaving the cat-eared girl absolutely spiraling over the sheer pointlessness of the task. She desperately tries to rationalize his behavior, convinced there must be a hidden motive, while Chen-Mo watches from afar, clearly enjoying the chaos he has unleashed upon her. Half an hour later, he stands there casually snacking on an apple to taunt her. When a new system prompt appears, forcing her to accept a bizarre mandatory mission, she initially feels a surge of excitement, believing she has finally unlocked a chain quest, but her expression quickly shifts to pure horror as she reads the actual requirements. This mission demands she perform a humiliating act of obedience for that same single coin, and she breaks down completely, realizing she is being toyed with by a total weirdo. Facing the humiliating demand, she reluctantly complies while trying to maintain her dignity, struggling to keep her composure as she follows his absurd instructions in public. Chen-Mo plays it off as a simple test, ignoring the awkwardness of the situation. She stands there feeling completely exposed, waiting for the next ridiculous command to drop. Desperately hoping to earn his favor, she offers her services for any further tasks. He sighs, acting as if he is burdened by the need to keep her busy. This grind begins as she is forced to count chicks and greet guards for coins. She spends her time performing pointless chores like folding paper hearts for a pittance. Finally, she is pushed to perform a public song and dance routine for a crowd, leaving her completely mortified as she realizes she has been reduced to a total joke. Mo realizes the so-called fourth catastrophe is actually a mystery hidden from most players. Noting that all records of the closed beta have been wiped from both game and reality, he understands that facing future god-tier threats requires him to stack every possible advantage now. Meanwhile, his manipulation of the cat-eared leader pays off as her favorability hits a new milestone. She is thrilled by the progress, completely unaware she is being groomed for his personal agenda. Mo drops the news about a secret realm opening, offering to lead her team inside. She eagerly accepts that, ecstatic to finally be useful to her mysterious new mentor. Rallying her followers with a massive announcement, she gathers a crowd of players for the raid. While they prepare, Mo heads out to grind some quick levels before the real work. He arrives at the outskirts, watching the chaotic market where players trade gear and seek parties. Mo notes the city is far more chaotic than it was during the beta. A shady self-proclaimed expert approaches him, offering to boost his leveling for a coin. He ignores the unsolicited advice, knowing the current player base is still struggling to progress. Brushing off the persistent scammer, he continues his walk toward the dangerous outskirts of town. This onlookers mock his low level, betting on how quickly he will meet his end. Suddenly, a high-ranking player approaches him with unexpected respect, asking if he needs any assistance. This crowd is stunned to see a strong player using honorifics toward a supposed novice. They whisper in confusion, unaware that the player has scanned Mo and seen terror. This scammers realize they have made a massive mistake by targeting someone so incredibly dangerous. Mo simply dismisses the player's offer, keeping his focus on his own secret agenda. Mo's cold indifference causes a massive drop in favorability among the surrounding crowd, leaving the players in a panicked frenzy as they realize they've offended a powerhouse. He ignores the chaos and heads straight for the city gates to find some action. While the cat-eared leader and her crew scramble to tail him for a potential quest, he brushes off a weak rabbit encounter, barely even breaking a sweat in the process. Suddenly, a pack of Gale demon wolves emerges from the shadows to challenge his path. He draws his blade and activates Spirit Pierce, channeling his new power into the steel. A single blinding strike connects, instantly depleting the wolf's health bar in one go. This trailing players watch in absolute disbelief as he effortlessly dispatches the dangerous beast. He stands calm and collected, ready to face the entire pack without a single doubt. This wolves swarm him with aggressive intent, but Mo remains completely unfazed by the pack. Their rapid attacks bounce off his defenses, dealing only minimal damage as he stands his ground. He counters with a precise, high damage strike that slices through the beasts with ease and speed. Massive experience points flood his system as the entire pack is wiped out in one go. His display goes viral. As onlookers watch the broadcast in absolute awe of his raw power, he ignores the flood of fan comments, already focused on the next step of his plan. Venturing deeper into the valley, he enters a dangerous new zone teeming with hostile wolf threats. He notes the rapid leveling speed while anticipating the arrival of his cat-eared followers' team. This group finally catches up to him, looking ready to start their raid under his guidance. A massive, elite guardian wolf looms on the ridge, signaling that the real challenge begins now. Mo watches the elite guardian wolf retreat. Unimpressed by its attempt to flee, he scoffs at the beast's lack of courage, showing no mercy for the creature. Channeling his spirit energy, he prepares a final decisive strike to end the fight. His blade connects with lethal precision, silencing the guardian in a single fluid motion. As the beast falls, the cat-eared leader cheers, completely oblivious to his true power. She orders her followers to clear the area, desperate to keep the path open. Meanwhile, a rival guild arrives, questioning why the Cold Moon group is acting so bossy. This cat-eared leader ignores the tension, reporting to Mo that her team is ready. He calmly instructs them to hold their position while he scouts the secret realm. Walking toward the entrance alone, he leaves the confused crowd waiting in his wake. Mo stands at the base of the ridge, eyeing the pack of wolves above. This wolf king looms over his subordinates, radiating a menacing aura that signals his dominance. A smirk plays on Mo's face as he realizes his primary target has finally arrived. This system reveals the boss's stats, confirming this high-intelligence predator is the key to the area. With a piercing howl, the Wolf King commands his entire pack to descend upon the intruder. Hundreds of wolves flood down the hillside, creating a tidal wave of fur and sharp teeth. This onlookers panic at the sheer scale of the assault, fearing for their very lives, ignoring their terror. Mo leaps into the fray and activates his signature Spirit Pierce. A massive shockwave of energy erupts, instantly draining the health bars of every surrounding beast. This entire pack dissolves into digital loot as Mo clears the path with ease. Mo stands his ground as the wolf pack launches a desperate, coordinated assault. Their claws barely scratch his armor, dealing only single-digit damage while he remains completely unfazed. Watching players are left speechless, their jaws dropping at his ridiculous level of defensive capability. He barely even acknowledges the pests, casually shrugging off the attacks with a smug grin. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as the true boss of the valley locks eyes with him. This massive white wolf lets out a deafening howl, signaling a shift in the fight. It launches itself from the ridge like a missile, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Mo doesn't flinch, instead tightening his grip on his blade to prepare a counter. He lunges forward with a burst of spiritual energy, meeting the beast head-on in midair. A single devastating strike connects, instantly carving a massive chunk out of the boss's health. This cat-eared leader and her team watch in absolute awe as the boss starts crumbling. Chen Mo moves with lethal grace, closing the distance before the beast can even react. He unleashes a flurry of strikes that carve through the monster's health bar like butter. Standing tall over the defeated guardian, he remains completely unfazed by his own display. A server-wide notification suddenly erupts, announcing the opening of the Abyssal Valley hidden dungeon. Players across the city scramble in confusion, desperately scouring the forums for any possible clues. This cat-eared leader watches the chaos unfold. Realizing the magnitude of what just happened, online forums explode with wild theories about the mysterious player who triggered the event. She realizes her guild is suddenly the center of attention, bringing them unexpected fame. Deciding to lean into the hype, she prepares to capitalize on this massive stroke of luck. Little Lily receives a sudden private message regarding the Secret Realm's mysterious opening. She quickly realizes that every major guild leader is now sniffing around for answers. Deciding to play it smart, she prepares to handle the sudden influx of professional interest. She gathers her thoughts, bracing herself for a high-stakes negotiation with the city's power players. This screen fills with the faces of elite leaders all desperate for a piece of information. Zhang Yuyang kicks off the group call with a jab about the cost of communication. Little Lily brushes off the petty comment, clearly enjoying her newfound position of influence. This guild leader of rolling in wealth tries to steer the conversation back to business. This leader of dominating the world demands they stop bickering and focus on the secret realm. She finally reveals that a specific NPC guided her here to trigger this massive event. This guild leaders are clearly unimpressed by her vague explanation of the secret realm, so she bluntly tells them to go kill the boss themselves if they doubt her. Silence fills the digital channel as the elite players process her surprisingly bold, dismissive attitude. She cheerfully waves them off, effectively ending the conversation before they can press for more. Cutting the connection leaves the guild leaders staring at empty screens in total frustration. She sighs, already annoyed by the inevitable wave of pestering messages coming her way. Sure enough, Zhang Yuyang immediately tries to call her back to demand more details. This rival leader tries to sweet-talk her into revealing the secret NPC's location and identity. She listens to the desperate plea with a growing, mischievous smirk on her face. Deciding to turn the tables, she demands they show some respect before she talks. Chen Mo sends a cryptic command to his cat-eared follower, clearing the path ahead. She receives the order with pure excitement, ready to follow his every instruction blindly, rallying her guild members. She leads the charge into the mysterious new secret realm. They step into the Abyssal Valley, a dangerous zone split into three treacherous, distinct regions. Chen Mo takes charge, positioning the guild to guard the outskirts while he pushes forward. He effortlessly cuts through the local threats, his blade moving with lethal, practiced precision. This guild members watch in total awe, convinced their success is entirely due to him. Even the toughest monsters in the valley fall before his overwhelming calculated combat prowess. Moving deeper into the interior, Chen Mo keeps his focus on the final, hidden objective. They arrive at the edge of a burning landscape, staring down the path toward danger. This group reaches the edge of a lethal lava pool, warning each other to stay back. His cat-eared follower suggests a shortcut by leaping across. Hoping to save some precious time, Chen Mo just smirks, clearly amused by her reckless suggestion to risk a quick demise. He tosses a small rock into the center to test the stability of the hidden path. A massive pillar of fire erupts instantly, proving that jumping would have been a mistake. This girl's watch in total shock as the trap triggers, narrowly avoiding a fiery end. He explains that these random mechanisms are deadly, so they must follow his lead exactly. Thanks to his extensive beta experience, he navigates the complex maze with absolute calm precision. They move deeper into the burning landscape, following the only safe route through the heat. He remembers dying here countless times before, but now he knows every single hidden secret. Chen Mo identifies the magma wedge moths, noting their dangerous area of effect skills and stats. While the rest of the group freezes in terror at the sight of the swarm, this cat-eared leader trembles, clearly realizing they are way out of their depth. Here, this moths unleash a massive scorching storm that threatens to overwhelm the entire party. Chen Mo steps in, moving with blinding speed to shield his followers from the heat. He effortlessly deflects the incoming assault, taking minimal damage as he prepares his counter. This girls watch in stunned silence, finally grasping the true scale of his combat ability. This cat-eared leader resolves to stick close to him, knowing he is their only hope. They press forward into the core of the Abyssal Valley, where the real danger waits. This massive wolf king emerges from the flames, signaling the final boss fight has begun. Chen Mo tells the team to stay back, dismissing their offer to help as unnecessary. He bluntly explains that their interference would only hinder his progress rather than help. Stepping forward, he triggers a system warning about the awakening of the Sumeru Bloodwolf King. This massive flame-wreathed beast looms over him, ready to defend its territory from the intruder. Chen Mo greets the boss with a casual wave, clearly unfazed by the legendary creature. This Wolf King looks genuinely confused by the human's lack of fear or proper respect. Roaring with fury, the beast activates its barrier and threatens Chen Mo with certain doom. Our hero just smirks, unimpressed by the boss relying on the same predictable combat patterns. He channels his energy, preparing to launch a decisive counterattack against the flaming predator. With a swift spirit pierce, he strikes the boss, shattering its defenses in one motion. This Bloodwolf King takes a massive hit, its health bar plummeting from the sheer force forcing the beast to retaliate with an earth-shaking stomp that rattles the entire arena floor. Shenmue effortlessly dodges the incoming flames. Keeping his focus locked on the boss's movements, he calmly predicts the wolf's next phase, knowing exactly when it will shrink its size. Just as he called it, the boss activates its barrier and shrinks down for close-quarters combat. This wolf lunges forward with desperate speed, hoping to catch him off guard with the shift, but Shenmue dances around the attack, his blade moving with a precision that mocks the beast. He channels his energy into a final, explosive burst of power to end the struggle, unleashing a spirit pierce that carves through the boss's remaining health in one clean stroke, leaving the watching guild members in total disbelief as they witness a level of skill beyond comprehension. Shenmue delivers a final decisive strike that cuts through the boss's remaining health. This massive wolf collapses into the earth as its fiery aura begins to fade. He watches the creature dissolve into digital particles, his eyes widening at the discovery. A pile of high-tier loot spills out across the ground. Glittering with rare potential, he inspects the abyssal spear, a powerful weapon that promises to boost his combat stats. While the stats are decent, he realizes the real value lies in the massive damage multiplier. Scanning the remaining items, he spots a small, glowing orb hidden among the scattered gear. Picking up the mysterious object, he wonders what kind of hidden power it might hold. This system reveals it as a rare feature item, capable of unlocking unique class abilities. Grinning at his luck, he confirms that choosing the Mystic class was a brilliant move. Shenmue slots the mysterious orb into his gear, already dreaming of the potential stat gains. His cat-eared follower and her team rush over, hoping to see what kind of treasure dropped, but he brushes them off, telling them to head back while he prepares to depart alone. Before they can even protest, he triggers a teleportation effect and vanishes right in front of them. This cat-eared leader is left fuming, convinced he thinks she is some kind of common thief. Her companion urges her to focus, noting that they need to clear the canyon before respawns. They make their way back toward the periphery canyon, hoping to avoid any further dangerous encounters. Suddenly, a guild member intercepts them with urgent news about the arrival of the major guilds. This cat-eared leader is confused, wondering why these power players are only showing up right now. It turns out the big guilds paid a fortune to bypass the travel time and send elites. This cat-eared leader knows the rival guilds won't just sit by while she gains power. Her strategist agrees that the game is still wide open with no clear dominant force. She summons her companion to hold the line while she prepares to handle the outsiders, leaving her team behind to explore the dungeon. She teleports away to confront the situation, arriving at a restricted office. She steps inside without a second thought for the rules. This division head is clearly unimpressed by her lack of manners and blunt, sudden entry. She coolly reminds the intruder that knocking is a basic requirement for professional office visits. Our hero acknowledges the critique but stays focused on the real reason for his visit. He cuts straight to the chase, asking for high-value tasks involving rare reagents and scrolls. She initially brushes him off with a flat refusal, forcing him to push for better. Shenmue presses the division head for the restricted files, ignoring her initial cold shoulder. He leans back with a confident smirk, clearly expecting her to cave under the pressure. She hesitates while reaching for the documents. Caught between protocol and his undeniable, sharp charisma finally relenting, she hands over the sensitive records. Letting him take the lead on this, he accepts the files with a polite nod. Leaving her to process the sudden, bold intrusion, Shenmue realizes that controlling the player base requires dangling the right rewards in front. He plans to use class transfer clues as bait to turn these players into pawns. A messenger bird takes flight, carrying his directive straight to the Cold Moon Guild headquarters. Arriving at the pavilion, he confronts the leadership to demand their full, undivided attention now. This cat-eared leader stares him down, clearly frustrated by his relentless, high-stakes power play. Shenmue sips his tea, casually remarking that the mood would improve with some wine. He explains that the major guilds are ready to promote Cold Moon to the 5th seat. This cat-eared leader is stunned, realizing just how much they are willing to pay out. She narrows her eyes, demanding to know the specific conditions attached to this massive offer. Shenmue smiles, confirming they want every detail regarding the secret NPC and the realm. She plays coy, reminding him that she already shared everything she could during their call. This rival leader scoffs at her excuse, noting that they traveled here for real answers. He insists this is a golden opportunity for her guild to finally step into the light. Jade Sun's leader chimes in, taunting her about staying in the shadows under their collective thumb. Shenmue watches the negotiation unfold, inviting them to lay their cards on the table now. This cat-eared leader finally caves, signaling her willingness to play by his rules. Shenmue and the other guild heads watch intently as she prepares her demands. She holds up 3 fingers, ready to dictate the terms of their new alliance, claiming the secret realm for her guild while forcing the big players to split profits. She demands that all major guilds vacate her territory once the exploration is complete. And finally, she insists on a public declaration cementing her guild's status as the 5th power. Shenmue accepts the deal immediately, his calm demeanor hiding his true calculated intentions. This other leaders are left stunned by his quick agreement, unable to voice any opposition. Later, he approaches a new contact with a request for specific high-level commission tasks. This contact agrees to help, but only if he meets her own set of conditions. This division head demands Shenmue join the Dark Dragon 6th Division to get his tasks. He stands his ground while she eyes him suspiciously, clearly sensing there is more to him. A system prompt forces a faction selection. While she wonders if he is a useful asset, choosing the Celestial Martial Empire, he reviews the map of the 7 warring nations in Celticis. These empires are locked in a fragile stalemate, constantly clashing in both open and secret ways. With the Blood Emperor gone, the temporary peace is crumbling as old rivalries begin to resurface. She finally offers him access to the division's archived cases to help him choose his path. Chenmo flips through the heavy records, searching for the specific intel he needs to succeed. He pulls out a single crucial file that catches his eye among the dusty, forgotten stacks. Confirming his choice with the division head, he prepares to leverage this new information immediately. Chenmo triggers a high-stakes S-rank mission to investigate the mysterious ancient blood demon god. This division head suggests he join an upcoming team expedition to the Winter Empire instead. He immediately accepts a secondary B-rank mission to wipe out remaining Blood Emperor followers for rewards. Realizing he just hit a jackpot with 2 profitable missions, he grins at the easy gains. This division head confirms the arrangement, signaling for her subordinate to come and assist him. A rugged operative enters the office, ready to receive orders from his superior without hesitation. She introduces Chenmo as a new recruit and tasks the operative with handling his logistics. This soldier salutes and accepts the mission to escort their new temporary team member. They head toward the headquarters of the 3rd Special Operations Team to finalize the plans. Chenmo meets Captain Chuyu, a seasoned superhuman whose stats reveal his combat-ready potential. Chenmo meets the team leader, noting the man possesses strength rivaling a boss creature. This captain suggests he get acquainted with the rest of the squad before their departure. While the team settles in, Chenmo begins scanning the office shelves for hidden secrets. His sharp eyes quickly lock onto a specific ancient-looking book tucked away in the corner. He casually asks the captain if he can study the rare text in its original language. This captain happily agrees, clearly impressed by Chenmo's unexpected intellectual curiosity and refined taste. Our hero offers a polite smile, already knowing the value of the knowledge he secured. Suddenly, the office atmosphere shifts as a sharp, urgent call for a report breaks out. This captain turns toward the door, signaling for the waiting team to enter the room. 3 elite soldiers step inside, ready to receive their orders for the upcoming dangerous mission. Wang Li steps up to introduce himself, cutting through the formalities with a cool, cybernetic confidence. He introduces the Zhang brothers, a pair of martial artists who round out the 3rd team. This captain assigns Wang Li to guide Chenmo to his new quarters nearby. Our hero gives a casual wave, already sizing up his new surroundings with practiced ease. As they walk down the hall, the brothers can't help but wonder about the newcomer. This captain shuts down their curiosity immediately, insisting that Chenmo's background is strictly off-limits. He confirms the arrangements are set, promising to keep a watchful eye on their guest. Night falls over the facility as they arrive at the designated dormitory building for rest. Wang Li points out the rooms, noting that the captain is just a neighbor away. He laughs off the earlier tension, clearly impressed that Chenmo managed to secure that book. Chenmo feels his luck turning as he prepares to master the ancient text. He burns through his experience points to unlock the mysterious original language skill. This system confirms this unique ability will boost his affinity and overall combat proficiency, though he soon realizes this forbidden tongue is actually the language of evil gods. Knowing a tough mission lies ahead, he decides it is time to power up. A successful level up grants him a massive influx of free attribute points to distribute. He reviews his total pool of points, carefully planning how to maximize his potential, dumping everything into intelligence. He watches his stats skyrocket to a terrifying new level. His spiritual energy hits nearly 400, putting him leagues ahead of every player. With his power secured, he turns his attention to analyzing the mysterious glowing orb. Chenmo successfully absorbs the mysterious orb, unlocking the powerful new abyssal skill. This ability grants him physical immunity and magic resistance. While shifting into a wisp, he is clearly pleased with his luck. Landing such a high-tier skill on his first attempt, with a confident smirk, he prepares to test the limits of his newfound transformation. Activating the skill, he dissolves into a swirling cloud of dark energy. This mist expands rapidly, enveloping the room as he experiments with his ethereal form. He drifts toward the wall, testing if his wisp state can bypass solid barriers. Unfortunately, he hits an invisible boundary. Realizing his current level limits his phasing capabilities, he returns to his physical form, sitting down to recover spent spiritual energy. Undeterred, he notes that future level-ups will eventually grant him the power to walk through walls. This team boards an airship, heading toward the frozen, treacherous borders of the Winter Empire. Their mission requires a stealthy descent into the harsh, snow-covered mountains via ropes and gear. As the flight progresses, his curious teammates press him for details about his mysterious past. Chenmo spins a calculated tale of military service, claiming he fought during the Great War. He describes his role as a gunner on a battleship, catching his squad completely off guard, spinning a tragic yarn about a ship destroyed in the void. He masks his true origins. He claims his memory is fractured from the blast, effectively shutting down any further prying questions. This team accepts his story at face value. Unaware they are being played by a master, he keeps his composure, watching the horizon while his fabricated identity settles into their minds. Internally, he knows his deep knowledge of the Seven Nations makes his lies impossible to trace. Mo maintains his facade, confident that his fabricated backstory will keep the team distracted. He knows the captain will relay his fake history to the higher-ups, securing his cover. This team receives orders to begin their descent into the harsh, frozen mountain terrain immediately. They rappel from the airship, braving the biting cold as they drop toward the snow. Landing with precision, the squad touches down on the icy surface to begin their mission. Everyone confirms their gear is functional, establishing a secure link for their upcoming tactical maneuvers. This captain organizes their formation, ordering drones to scout while they maintain a silent approach. This squad acknowledges the plan. Falling into their assigned positions with disciplined military-grade efficiency, they trek across the desolate, snow-swept landscape, moving deeper into the heart of the territory. Suddenly, Mo senses a disturbance in the air, realizing something is definitely not right. This team realizes the rendezvous point is suspiciously empty, suggesting something went wrong with their hosts. Yu orders everyone to hold their positions while Wang Li begins a cautious sweep of the area. They hunker down in the snow, blending into the frozen landscape to avoid being spotted by potential threats. Hours pass in the biting cold as they wait for any sign of movement in the desolate mountains. Mo grows restless, noting that their window for a safe meeting has long since slammed shut. Suddenly, a system prompt flashes, alerting him to an emergency assassination mission as new figures approach the ridge. He realizes these incoming hostiles aren't Winter Empire locals, but rather remnants of the Blood Emperor's dangerous faction. Mo warns the captain that these intruders are definitely not the allies they were expecting to meet. Yu immediately commands Wang Li to scan the approaching group to confirm their true identities and affiliations. Wang Li activates his tech to analyze the targets, waiting for the captain to decide their next move. Mo confirms his suspicions as the team prepares to confront the mysterious group. Yu decides he and Mo will make the initial approach while others wait. One teammate protests the risk, but the captain insists on keeping his long-range support back. They advance toward the ridge, moving with caution across the treacherous, snow-covered mountain terrain. Reaching the edge, they demand the strangers identify themselves before things turn hostile. Mo instantly recognizes the mark of the Blood Emperor on their gear, signaling danger. He gives the signal to engage. Knowing these enemies are far from being friendly allies, Yu immediately shifts into a combat stance, ready to unleash his hidden martial power. Flames erupt around the captain as he activates his high-level fire-based combat abilities. He strikes with a searing whip, catching the enemies off guard with a massive burst. This captain unleashes a torrent of flame, overwhelming the opposition with sheer raw power. Mo follows up with a precise strike, his movements calculated to maximize the impact. Their enemies are quickly neutralized, left scattered across the frozen ground in total defeat. A barrage of projectiles rains down from the ridge, forcing the team to take cover. One of the hostile operatives struggles to maintain his footing while managing his heavy gear. This team hunkers down behind a rocky outcrop, enduring a relentless storm of incoming fire. This enemy leader realizes they are outmatched by the Celestial Martial Empire's elite tactical squad. Mo remains composed despite the chaos, preparing his next move with a steady hand. This opposing gunner panics as his weapon runs dry, leaving him vulnerable in the snow. Our hero seizes the opening, channeling a concentrated beam of energy to finish the fight. Mo locks onto his target with cold, calculated precision. Swift, decisive strike instantly neutralizes the opposition before they can react. His teammates watch in total shock as the situation turns in their favor. He activates his abyssal skill, surrounding himself in a protective, swirling void. Incoming projectiles harmlessly bounce off his dark energy barrier, leaving the enemies confused. This squad watches from their cover as he effortlessly deflects the relentless assault. Mo grins from within the shadows, his power leaving his allies completely stunned. They realize they are witnessing a top-tier ability that defies all conventional logic. This team realizes they have secured a massive advantage with such a powerful recruit. He emerges from the dark mist, ready to finish the fight with surgical efficiency. Mo unleashes a devastating energy blast that cuts through the frozen mountain air. His opponents scramble in panic as their tactical advantage crumbles under his overwhelming assault. One enemy loses his grip on his weapon, completely caught off guard by the speed. Our hero casually strolls toward the remaining survivor, greeting him with a mocking, friendly wave. He internally notes how incredibly useful his new physical immunity skill has become for combat. This desperate enemy tries to cast a weakening spell to turn the tide of battle. Mo stands unfazed as the system monitors the incoming magical pressure in real time. His massive intelligence stat renders the debuff useless, causing the enemy's attempt to fail instantly. This realization that his best shot did nothing leaves the hostile operative in total shock. Mo offers a final ultimatum, forcing his defeated foe to choose his fate. Mo corners the last operative, demanding he drop the act and start talking. He sighs at the measly experience points, clearly unimpressed by the low-level opposition. His teammates catch up, buzzing with curiosity about the flashy display of power he just unleashed. This Zhang brothers decide to take a more hands-on approach to the interrogation process. They immediately jump on the captive, turning the snowy ground into a makeshift wrestling ring. This overwhelmed enemy begs for mercy, promising to spill all his secrets to stop the beating. Mo cuts straight to the chase, asking exactly how many hostiles are lurking nearby. This captive complains about the rough treatment, but the squad isn't buying his sudden cooperation. Realizing he has no other choice, the operative reveals their secret base hidden beneath the ice. He confirms the worst, admitting that the original Winter Empire contact team was completely wiped out. Chenmo presses the captive for answers, questioning how he knew their secret rendezvous point. This operative laughs off the pressure, claiming their leader has ways to make anyone talk. He insists that even the deceased can provide information through their leader's unique, dark abilities. Chenmo listens intently, his mind racing as he processes this unsettling new piece of intel. He deduces that only specific high-tier classes possess such necromantic skills, marking their leader as dangerous. This captain nods in agreement, realizing they are dealing with a much more formidable opponent. Deciding it is time to wrap things up, Chenmo delivers a swift final blow. This system confirms the mission's success, rewarding him with experience and rare high-grade equipment parts. With the immediate threat neutralized, he checks his status and prepares for the next objective. He suggests a tactical retreat to regroup before launching a full-scale assault under the cover of darkness. This squad is eager to jump back into the action after their initial skirmish. Chuyu quickly assigns roles, tasking Wang Li with communications while the brothers build shelter. They huddle together to finalize the plan, keeping their voices low in the freezing air. This captain keeps a sharp watch on the horizon, waiting for the perfect moment. Meanwhile, Wang Li realizes his ammo is depleted and prepares for close-quarters combat instead. This team shares a lighthearted moment, trading banter as they gear up for the assault. Chuyu gives the signal, and the squad moves out to infiltrate the enemy position. They advance through the snowy landscape under the cover of night. Staying low and silent, Wang Li deploys his scouting drones, scanning the perimeter for any hidden threats or traps. He quickly identifies 9 sentries guarding the base, mapping out their exact locations for everyone. Chenmo steps up to take the lead, volunteering to neutralize the nearest hostiles. A sudden system notification pops up, signaling a major shift in his current objectives. This mission has officially upgraded, offering massive experience rewards for wiping out the entire base. He surveys the snowy perimeter, already calculating the most efficient path for his solo infiltration. Convincing the team to hang back, he argues that his unique skills are perfect for stealth. This captain agrees, ordering the squad to hold their positions while providing tactical support coverage. After a quick, lighthearted exchange with his teammates, he prepares to vanish into the shadows, activating his specialized void abilities. He blends seamlessly into the dark, frozen mountain landscape. He locks onto a target with his system interface, identifying a Blood Emperor faction sentry. Moving with lethal speed, he closes the distance to secure his first silent takedown. Chenmo effortlessly suppresses his target, confirming the massive power gap between them. He moves like a ghost through the snow, cloaked in his signature dark energy. One by one, the sentries are neutralized before they can even register his presence. Returning to the team, he shares the intel he extracted regarding the base entrance. This squad gathers around as he maps out the enemy numbers and base layout. He sketches the 4-level structure in the snow, noting the heavy defenses waiting below. This team listens intently, weighing the risks of infiltrating such a fortified position. Wang Li steps up, confident he can bypass the security and handle the password. Chenmo gives him a thumbs up, clearly impressed by the tech expert's capabilities. They finalize the plan, splitting their duties between direct combat and tactical intelligence gathering. Chenmo notes the low level of the base defenders, expecting a very easy infiltration. This team sprints across the frozen tundra, closing the distance to the enemy stronghold. They regroup near the target area, scanning the surroundings for any signs of hidden traps. Wang Li focuses his tech on the ground, working to bypass the sophisticated security locks. A confident grin spreads across his face as he successfully cracks the complex digital code. Shimmering energy pulses outward as the hidden entrance finally reveals itself to the squad. This team stares down at the open hatch, ready to descend into the enemy lair. A dark, narrow staircase leads deep underground. Promising a confrontation with the hostile faction, Wang Li confirms he has looped the security feed, giving them a window of stealth. Chenmo channels his dark energy, fully prepared to lead the charge into the unknown. Chenmo leads the squad into the dark, ominous depths of the enemy's underground base. They emerge onto the first floor, finding the facility surprisingly quiet and seemingly unguarded. Keeping his void energy active, he scouts ahead with his glowing blade held ready, signaling for his team to follow. He moves through the shadows with absolute silence. His gear hums with latent power as he prepares to unleash a flurry of strikes. Clearing the immediate area, he stands over the neutralized sentries while keeping his guard up. Meanwhile, a group of unsuspecting guards complains about their shift in the freezing weather. They grumble about the long wait, completely unaware that intruders are already inside their walls. This guards discuss the fate of the Winter Empire team, oblivious to their own danger. Suddenly, a massive burst of flame erupts, catching the entire group in a surprise attack. This unsuspecting guards are caught completely off guard, collapsing instantly as the surprise assault begins. Panic erupts among the enemy ranks as they realize their base has been thoroughly compromised. Chenmo and his team unleash a coordinated barrage of elemental strikes to overwhelm them. The sheer force of the impact sends the defenders flying back, breaking their defensive line. Chenmo moves with lethal grace, weaving through while flames light the hallway. He strikes with surgical precision, neutralizing threats before they can even draw their own weapons. This opposition is quickly dismantled, their attempts to rally failing against such overwhelming tactical speed. As the last few survivors scramble to escape, they find themselves trapped in a dead end. Chenmo delivers a final, decisive blow that cuts through the remaining resistance with ease, standing amidst the defeated. He remains calm, his mission objectives already well within his reach. Chenmo brushes off his teammates' concern about potential friendly fire during the chaotic fight. He remains completely unfazed, confident that his defensive stats make him practically untouchable right now. His ally can't help but feel a bit frustrated by how effortlessly Chenmo handles everything. Suddenly, the team realizes they have been spotted by a hidden security camera in the hallway. Chenmo immediately shifts into a focused state, preparing to deal with the inevitable security response. He realizes his oversight, noting that the base utilizes a dual-layer monitoring system for extra security. This squad prepares for a direct confrontation as the enemy base goes into full alert mode. Chenmo outlines the plan to clear the floor and secure the elevator as their base. They quickly dispose of the remaining gear, identifying the high-grade weaponry left behind by the opposition. He explains the grim reality of the political landscape, where even allies play both sides secretly. Chenmo inspects the scavenged rifle, noting its mediocre stats compared to his own high-tier gear. He decides the weapon is basically vendor trash, perfect for selling to other players for profit. Meanwhile, the base security system alerts the enemy leadership to the ongoing infiltration in real time. A hooded figure receives word of the intruders, showing zero concern while tending to a patient. He calmly cleans his tools, clearly prioritizing his grim medical experiments over the base's sudden security crisis. Vice Leader Olin enters, ordering a total lockdown and the immediate deployment of their elite task force. Olin snaps at his subordinate for the delay, demanding total efficiency in their defensive response measures. He dismisses the failed guards as mere test subjects, already planning to repurpose them for his research. Olin prepares a dark ritual, confident that his leader's mysterious project will soon reach completion. Back in the corridors, the squad senses something is off, feeling the shift in the base's atmosphere. Chenmo questions why the elevator remains open despite the base being fully alerted. His teammates trade snide remarks about his reckless combat-first approach to the entire situation. Wang Li confirms the security lockdown, warning that the enemy is likely waiting in ambush. This squad weighs their options, debating whether to charge down or wait for the enemy. Chenmo decides to take the initiative, readying his gear for a direct aggressive assault. His allies panic, pointing out the overwhelming firepower waiting for them at the bottom floor, ignoring their warnings. Chenmo lunges forward to initiate his own plan of attack immediately. This rest of the squad watches in total shock as he dives into the danger. He channels a powerful, glowing energy signature that illuminates the dark, narrow stairwell ahead. His teammates are left speechless, wondering if they are even fighting alongside a human anymore. Chenmo scoffs at the threat, unimpressed by the enemy's supposed heavy-duty firepower. His teammates give him a thumbs up, clearly inspired by his cold-blooded confidence. This squad rallies behind him, eager to finally storm the next level of the base. They pile into the elevator together, with Chenmo taking point as they descend. This lift reaches the second floor, sliding open to reveal a room full of hostiles. These guards are already waiting behind cover, their weapons trained on the elevator doors. Chenmo doesn't hesitate, immediately unleashing a barrage of energy strikes at the enemy line. Bullets fly back and forth, turning the hallway into a chaotic, high-stakes shooting gallery. He lands a precise critical hit, taking down a target and racking up easy experience. Shells rain down around him, but he remains completely unfazed as he dominates the room. Chenmo trades fire with the remaining guards, effectively neutralizing the last of the opposition. This room falls silent as the squad surveys the aftermath of their swift, decisive victory. A sudden system alert interrupts the calm, notifying Chenmo of a minor combat setback. His gear triggers a defensive effect. Though it unfortunately leaves his arm temporarily paralyzed, he acknowledges the status effect. Knowing he needs to recover before the next wave hits, one of his teammates checks in, clearly relieved that the immediate threat has been cleared. Chenmo shrugs off the injury, focusing on the tactical advantage of his cybernetic build. This team discusses future repairs, joking about the perks of being part machine in this world. They share a laugh over their easy win, feeling confident as they stand over the defeated. Chenmo keeps his cool, already planning to report their success to the higher-ups immediately. Chenmo leads the team toward a mysterious, skull-marked door deep within the base. He reaches out to inspect the heavy seal, sensing something valuable hidden behind it. Realizing they have stumbled upon the enemy's primary ammunition dump, he prepares to breach it. His squad gathers around, eager to see if they can crack the lock and proceed. Chenmo uses his tech to interface with the security. Though he remains cautiously skeptical, he warns the team not to expect anything game-changing, assuming the gear is standard issue. Despite his doubts, the squad insists on checking for any hidden high-powered weaponry inside. This heavy doors slide open, revealing a storage room filled with rows of tactical equipment. They scan the racks of rifles and supplies. Realizing the stash is mostly basic gear, deciding it is not worth the effort, Chenmo orders them to reload and demolish. Chenmo shifts the mission focus, deciding it is time to head toward Rohondo. His teammate eagerly agrees, hoping to scavenge some heavy firepower like a grenade launcher. They waste no time putting their plan into action, triggering a massive, controlled explosion. This team questions why they didn't just use an electromagnetic cannon to level the place. Chenmo keeps his head in the game, calculating the remaining enemy forces and casualties. He updates the squad on the situation, noting that the real challenge is just beginning. This intensity in his eyes confirms that he is ready for the upcoming boss encounter. Meanwhile, the enemy leadership is stunned to learn that their second floor has fallen. This news of the total defeat sends a shockwave of panic through the command center. Their leader erupts in fury, berating his subordinates for their complete and utter failure. This panicked subordinate reports that their attackers seem completely immune to standard damage. Olin decides it's his time to handle the situation personally on the third floor. He gathers his elite guard, ready to confront the intruders and reveal their identities. Meanwhile, Chenmo and his squad continue their ascent. Riding the elevator upward together, they reach the next level, finding the hallway eerily empty and devoid of any traps. Chenmo notes that this lack of resistance is actually a deeply concerning tactical sign. This team stays sharp, moving cautiously through the quiet corridor with weapons held high. They advance as a unit, scanning every corner for the ambush they know is coming. Suddenly, the sound of rhythmic footsteps echoes from the darkness, signaling an approaching group. Olin steps into view, flanked by his personal guard, ready to face the invaders head-on. Olin reveals his terrifying stats, confirming he is a high-level wizard with lethal crowd control abilities. Chenmo realizes this boss is far beyond their current level and poses a massive threat. This villain mocks the squad, clearly unimpressed by the group that just dismantled his entire base. Sensing the danger, Chenmo orders his teammates to retreat and stay out of the crossfire. His allies refuse to abandon the mission, insisting that they are soldiers who never run away. Chenmo bluntly tells them they are only going to be a liability in this fight. He explains that the boss uses indiscriminate area attacks that will easily confuse and disable them. Realizing the tactical reality, the squad finally agrees to provide support from a safe distance. They watch from the shadows, fully aware that they are outclassed and would only hinder him. Chenmo steps into the spotlight alone, channeling his energy to face the wizard head-on. Olin dismisses the intruders as mere pests, channeling dark energy through his staff with ease. He declares his grand ambitions while surrounding himself with a volatile, purple magical aura. This wizard unleashes a barrage of projectiles, forcing Chenmo to brace for the impact. Despite the heavy assault, Chenmo stands his ground with minimal damage to his health. He quickly analyzes the situation, noting the precision of the incoming magical strikes. Olin watches with a smug expression, clearly intrigued by his opponent's unexpected durability. Chenmo retaliates with a swift, sweeping energy strike that catches the wizard off guard. His gear triggers a defensive effect, though it unfortunately leaves him momentarily unable to move. This system confirms the status effect, turning a simple skirmish into a much riskier encounter. Olin realizes his attacks are actually landing, finally sensing a real opening in the defense. Olin unleashes a lethal aura, forcing Chenmo to realize he cannot afford a direct hit. He knows that taking continuous damage here would spell disaster for his current health pool. This energy wave surges forward, threatening to overwhelm his defenses in a single brutal strike. His teammates watch in sheer terror, shouting his name as the situation spirals out of control. Chenmo grits his teeth, channeling every ounce of his focus to survive the incoming wave. He lunges forward with incredible speed, narrowly avoiding the worst of the magical energy blast, executing a precise counter-maneuver. He activates a piercing skill to break through the wizard's defenses. His squad cheers in disbelief, stunned by his ability to turn the tide so effortlessly. This elite guards are left completely incapacitated, their efforts failing against his overwhelming combat prowess. Olin scoffs at his fallen subordinates, dismissing their entire performance as a total pathetic waste. Olin loses his cool, channeling a massive surge of dark energy to crush his opponent. He summons a terrifying spectral manifestation that towers over the entire battlefield. Chenmo holds his ground, activating his defensive barriers to mitigate the incoming magical onslaught. This spectral claws slam down, testing the absolute limits of his protective gear. Despite taking a hit, he remains calm, relying on his passive skills to soak the damage. His teammates watch from the sidelines, realizing this boss is in a completely different league. Chenmo keeps his focus, correctly betting that the wizard cannot sustain such high-level output. Seeing the opening he needs, he prepares to strike back with everything he has got. He closes the distance in a flash, catching the boss completely off guard. A flurry of precise strikes lands, dealing massive damage and finally turning the tide. Chenmo exploits the brief recovery window after Olin's high-level magical attacks, while the wizard activates a defensive state that forces Chenmo to adapt his strategy. Even though his damage output is temporarily reduced, he remains confident in his endurance. He maneuvers around the battlefield with calculated precision to avoid taking any unnecessary hits. Dodging a complex web of magical energy beams that would have spelled certain doom, he lands a series of devastating strikes that finally break through the wizard's defenses. Olin is left reeling as his magical aura collapses under the weight of the assault. This defeated boss resorts to desperate threats, claiming his master will eventually seek retribution. His physical form begins to dissolve into digital particles as his health reaches zero. Chenmo watches coldly as the enemy fades away, signaling the end of the encounter. Chenmo claims the fallen wizard's gold-tier scepter, a nice little upgrade for his stats, testing the weight of the new gear. He finds it fits his combat style perfectly. He quickly dismisses the rest of the common loot, focusing only on the high-value drops. His teammates rush over, clearly worried about his condition after such a brutal magical duel, waving off their concerns. He keeps his focus on the scepter while taking a breather. He realizes he was a bit too reckless, having forgotten to pack any recovery supplies. Reflecting on his recent defensive maneuvers, he acknowledges the strain of his current gear. Making a mental note to stock up on essentials, he prepares for the next phase. His squad checks in on the mission status, wondering if they should call it quits. Chenmo shuts down any talk of retreat, signaling that they are pushing forward immediately. Chenmo rallies his team, insisting they are far too close to turn back now. He warns them that the path ahead is dangerous and casualties are a real possibility. This squad understands the gravity of his words, knowing they are outmatched without his leadership. They acknowledge the massive threat posed by the remaining soldiers and the final boss encounter. Chenmo maintains his composure, fully aware of the heavy burden of duty on his shoulders. He promises to protect his allies, stepping forward with a resolve that inspires the group. This team moves together toward the next level, bracing themselves for whatever awaits inside. As the elevator doors slide open, they are immediately met with a shocking, silent scene. This room is filled with fallen bodies, revealing that someone else has already struck hard. Seeing the aftermath of this brutal ambush, the squad reacts with pure, unfiltered rage. Chenmo pauses to pay his respects to the fallen, promising them a proper burial. This squad stands in solemn salute, honoring the lives lost in this brutal, unexpected ambush. A wave of existential doubt hits him as he questions the reality of this harsh world, shaking off the confusion. He reminds himself that dwelling on the nature of the game is futile. He resolves to keep pushing forward, knowing that only absolute power will reveal the hidden truth. This team ventures deeper into the cavernous depths, scouting for the source of the disturbance. Chenmo signals his squad to proceed with extreme caution as they approach the dark entrance. They move silently through the gloom, their footsteps echoing until he suddenly orders them to halt. A strange glowing relic sits atop a pedestal ahead, surrounded by an ominous, blood-red mist. This group stares at the mysterious altar, realizing they have finally reached the heart of the mystery. Chenmo realizes the dark stains on the floor are definitely blood, signaling real danger. His squad immediately picks up on the hostile atmosphere and prepares for a sudden ambush. Spotting a figure on the upper level, Chenmo calls out to alert his entire team. A mysterious, robed individual stands calmly near the altar, seemingly unfazed by their sudden arrival. This stranger mocks Olin for failing to stall them, revealing his identity as the base leader scanning the enemy. Chenmo discovers the boss is a spirit medium obsessed with dark rituals. Hearing the goal to resurrect a legendary emperor, Chenmo realizes this threat is entirely new. He examines the glowing runes on the stairs, confirming the ritual is already well underway. This boss sighs with cold resignation, preparing to initiate the next phase of his plan. Dark energy swirls around the altar as the final, ominous stage of the ceremony begins. This boss channels a dark ritual, threatening to send the squad to their final rest. Chenmo immediately senses the danger, ordering his team to pull back from the front. He steps into the fray alone, ready to intercept the incoming wave of hostile energy. His allies provide covering fire, though their bullets barely make a dent in the defenses. This ritualist activates a defensive charm, surrounding himself with a protective, glowing red aura. Even as the squad unloads their weapons, the boss remains completely unfazed by the effort. Chenmo ignores the minor distractions, focusing his intent on breaking the ritual's core runes. He lunges forward with a precise piercing strike, aiming to shatter the boss's magical barrier. This impact lands with massive force, finally showing the team that their leader is effective. Undeterred by the blow, the boss begins to grow in size, escalating the fight further. Chenmo activates his Spirit Pierce, hoping to disrupt the ritualist's growing magical influence. This boss looms over the battlefield, his massive spectral presence dwarfing everyone in the room. Unleashing a counterattack, the ritualist manifests glowing blades of energy to strike his opponent. Chenmo realizes too late that this version of the skill is far more dangerous. This impact lands hard, forcing him to absorb significant damage as his defenses buckle. Dark energy clings to him, marking the toll of this high-stakes exchange on his health. His teammates aren't spared either, taking heavy hits as the boss spreads his lethal focus. Chenmo notes the danger, realizing that if his squad falls, he cannot survive alone. This ritualist prepares for another wave, his movements fluid and backed by immense dark power. Analyzing the boss's limited targeting, Chenmo decides to force a direct high-speed confrontation. Chenmo hopes to avoid the brunt of the assault by staying out of sight, but the boss unleashes a relentless barrage of energy that forces him into action. Damage numbers flash across the screen as he tanks the heavy magical impact head-on. His teammates watch in shock, realizing their leader is holding the line against everything. Deciding they cannot just stand by, the squad rallies to join the intense fray. They charge forward with their own abilities, desperate to support Chenmo's aggressive push. A massive explosion of power erupts as they finally land a hit on the ritualist. Chenmo seizes the opening, launching himself through the smoke to deliver a strike. This boss looks genuinely surprised, admitting that he underestimated his opponent's sheer combat potential. Realizing his ritual is collapsing, the ritualist calls out to his master before fading away. Chenmo realizes the situation has turned dire, forcing him to call for an immediate retreat. He executes a desperate tactical withdrawal, putting as much distance as possible between them and danger. This squad scrambles toward the elevator, hoping to escape the lethal energy building up behind them. Bracing for impact, Chenmo channels his remaining energy into a defensive stance to buy time. He identifies the boss's move as a high-level sacrifice skill, a truly devastating and forbidden technique. Knowing the incoming blast will deal massive damage, he pushes himself to the absolute limit. His teammates frantically urge him to hurry, their voices echoing through the tense, narrow corridor. A blinding wave of energy surges forward, threatening to consume everything in its path instantly. He lunges for the elevator controls, slamming the button repeatedly to force the doors to close, narrowly slipping inside. Chenmo and his squad escape the blast just as the doors seal. This massive explosion rocks the entire facility, leaving the squad reeling from the sheer intensity. Chenmo and his team scramble to regain their footing as the dust begins to settle. He wonders aloud how the system will evaluate such a chaotic and destructive final strike, staring at the massive crater left behind. The group realizes how close they came to disaster. Frustration boils over regarding the faulty intelligence that nearly cost them their lives in this raid. They survey the wreckage to see what remains of the boss and the surrounding loot pile. Chenmo leaps down into the pit, eager to claim the spoils of their hard-won victory. A wave of system notifications washes over him, confirming the successful completion of their faction mission. Experience points and rare items materialize, signaling a massive payout for their efforts in the dungeon. He inspects a glowing reward, satisfied that the near-death experience was worth the high-tier loot. Chenmo unlocks the Spirit Medium trait, a necessary step for his second-class advancement. This system confirms his new skill tree and grants him a massive boost in stats. He tries to play off his sudden power-up as a simple stretch to his confused teammates. Checking his inventory, he realizes he has secured almost every reward from the raid. These high-tier materials and currency are the kind of loot most players only dream about. With a quick flick of his hand, he begins dumping his points to optimize his build. This system alerts him to a level up, pushing his core attributes to a new peak. Feeling ready for anything, he prepares to face whatever final challenge remains in this dungeon. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake as a mysterious, ominous energy converges on their position. Realizing they are under immediate threat, he shouts for his squad to scatter and survive. Chenmo suspects the ritual isn't about the Emperor, sensing something far more sinister unfolding. Glowing runes carved deep into the cavern floor, pulsing with a volatile, unnatural energy. A massive magical circle manifests in the air, drawing power from the surrounding environment. This structure begins to absorb everything nearby, creating a vortex of pure, concentrated dark energy. Blinding light erupts from the center, forcing the team to shield their eyes from intensity. A terrifying blood demon spirit emerges from the rift, wielding a blade of ancient malice. Chenmo realizes the true nature of the threat. Identifying the entity as a demon, he connects the dots back to the original mission, realizing they were lured into traps. This realization hits that the previous boss was merely a pawn for a larger conspiracy. This altar serves as a beacon, reaching out to forces far beyond their own galaxy. Chenmo realizes the conspiracy runs deeper than just one base, hinting at a planetary threat. His teammate snaps him out of his deep contemplation, demanding they focus on the immediate escape. Despite the urgency, his friend insists on staying together rather than leaving him behind to cover. Chenmo firmly rejects the sentiment, knowing that splitting up is the only way to survive. He forces his team to prioritize their own safety while he prepares to hold the line. A sudden surge of power envelops him as he hits a new level, boosting his core stats. His squad barely makes it into the safety of the elevator as the danger closes in. They watch in desperation as the heavy doors seal, leaving their leader behind in the chaos. Chenmo stands alone in the crumbling chamber, his resolve hardening as he faces the void. With his new strength fully realized, he prepares to confront the final, looming threat head-on. Chenmo stares down the towering entity, his mind racing to analyze the sudden threat. This system reveals the Blood Demon Spirit is a level 35 powerhouse with lethal skills. Checking his own stats, he realizes he is severely outclassed by this monstrous ancient manifestation. This boss has clearly leveled up beyond its original parameters, making it a nightmare encounter. Chenmo knows better than to engage this beast directly, unless he absolutely has to. This demon launches a massive sweeping strike that cuts through the air with terrifying speed. He barely manages to dodge the incoming energy, his movements push to their absolute limit. A second wave of attacks follows instantly, forcing him to rely on his defensive maneuvers. Catching his breath, he realizes the situation is dire but not entirely hopeless just yet. He spots a potential opening, noting that the demon's primary attacks are purely physical strikes. This demon unleashes a whirlwind of energy, forcing Chenmo to dodge the lethal onslaught. He weaves through the glowing arcs of power, barely keeping his distance from the strikes. This masked entity stares him down with cold, calculating intent, showing no signs of fatigue. Chenmo sighs, realizing that a direct confrontation is going to be a massive headache. This monster lets out a silent, echoing roar that vibrates through the entire chamber walls. Our hero tries to keep his cool, though he knows this fight is far from over. Another wave of energy tears through the room, narrowly missing the path to the exit. He watches the destructive power hit the walls, confirming that he needs a better plan. Realizing the heavy cost of his own abilities, he decides to prioritize a quick escape. He signals for his team to move, urging them to reach the surface before everything collapses. The squad breathes a massive sigh of relief as Chenmo finally rejoins their group. He brushes off the concern, though his mind is still locked on the lingering threat, urging everyone to retreat at full speed before the situation spirals further out of control. He calmly mentions he has a plan to handle the entity, shocking his confused teammates. They reach a secure location where a contact waits, clearly unsettled by the sudden news. Chenmo explains the history of the Blood Demon Spirit and its terrifying evolution potential. This contact warns that the entity is virtually unstoppable once it begins its dark absorption. She insists on alerting the Winter Empire immediately to handle such a massive looming catastrophe. Chenmo stops her cold, realizing that bureaucratic delays will only waste their precious time. He argues argues that they lack the hard evidence needed to convince the Empire to act. Chenmo tries to explain that the Winter Empire's involvement would only complicate their delicate situation, pointing out that the presence of Imperial gear in the base makes direct communication far too risky. And when asked for a better alternative, he proposes a strategy that keeps the authorities away, suggesting they outsource the dangerous work to the adventurers who are already operating in the area. Since these players possess the unique ability to respawn, making them perfect for fighting the demon spirit, his contact remains skeptical about whether these independent groups will actually follow their lead, but Chenmo confidently insists that he can handle the coordination and get the job done. Leaving her with little choice but to trust his judgment as he prepares to take charge, she demands a full report on his progress, expecting him to keep her updated on every move, and as he heads out, the system updates his mission to focus entirely on the demon threat. This system officially upgrades the mission to an SS-class threat, demanding the demon's total destruction. Chenmo studies the massive rewards, knowing the stakes have shifted into a high-tier game. While most players are busy exploring the North City, he prepares his own calculated move, confident that the lure of such legendary loot will draw the best fighters right here. He arrives at the Breeze City Exchange, a grand hub for all his upcoming business dealings. Approaching the clerk, he requests a shop rental to establish a base for his secret operation. A hooded contact greets him, ready to facilitate the transaction and get things moving quickly. She offers him a drink while he waits, keeping the atmosphere professional despite the tension. Chenmo sips his coffee watching her work as he mentally plots his next strategic step. Though he winces at the high cost of the rental, he knows it is a necessary investment. Chenmo navigates the shop interface, carefully selecting which items to list for his operation. He notes that high-tier gear like the gold-level wizard scepter is far too valuable to sell. Keeping the best equipment for himself is a priority, even if it means sacrificing quick cash. Suddenly, he pauses, noticing a strange name pop up on the digital storefront display screen. Someone has named their shop after a grudge, and they are listing gear at absurd prices. He stares in disbelief at the market trends, questioning how such a business could even function. This rigid pricing models of other players seem incredibly inefficient and frankly quite amateurish to him. Realizing the market is wide open for a real professional, he begins formulating a better strategy. A devious grin spreads across his face as he prepares to dominate the local trade scene. He settles into his new shop, ready to show everyone exactly how a master merchant operates. Chenmo directs his team through the chaotic battlefield, keeping them focused on the gaps. An urgent notification suddenly interrupts his focus, demanding immediate attention from the system interface. He processes the alert with a sharp, calculated gaze. Sensing a major shift in events, his teammate frantically calls in, reporting that someone is selling rare job transfer items online. Chenmo realizes the massive implications. Knowing players are desperate for these hard-to-find upgrade materials, this sheer rarity of the listed items leaves him momentarily stunned by the seller's audacity. He scans the legendary inventory, recognizing that these specific scrolls and blueprints are absolute game-changers. Ordering his guild to secure the stock immediately, he prepares to throw their entire budget. He meets with his team to discuss the acquisition, teasing his subordinate about their luck. They finalize their plan to corner the market, ensuring no one else grabs the essential gear. Chenmo boldly claims the robot race blueprint, making it clear he has no intention of sharing. His teammates grumble about his selfishness, secretly hoping he pays a heavy price for his greed. This red-haired woman casually mentions her own interest in an awakening crystal, ignoring the mounting tension. Meanwhile, the cat-eared girl worries that their overconfidence will lead to a disastrous encounter with the boss. She is suddenly interrupted by a subordinate, who arrives with urgent news regarding their leader's current location. This report confirms that Chenmo is active at the exchange, prompting immediate concern from the group. Deciding she has seen enough, the girl abruptly announces her departure to handle guild business elsewhere. Her teammates watch her go with confusion, wondering why she is suddenly in such a massive hurry. Chenmo and his companion discuss the situation. Realizing that tracking the mysterious contact is their priority, they decide to tail her, both men sharing a devious grin as they prepare to intervene. Chenmo keeps his guard up, fully aware that the red-haired woman is playing games. His subordinate interrupts his quiet moment, rushing in with news about the shop's inventory. She asks if he is the mastermind behind the rare job transfer items currently flooding the market. This cat-eared girl looks hopeful, begging him to sell their guild the entire stock of materials. Chenmo just scoffs at the mention of the Cold Moon Guild. Unimpressed by their desperation, he stretches out, pointing out that their group simply lacks the capital to buy him out. This major guilds arrive in force, clearly expecting their status to grant them special buying privileges. They crowd into his space, acting like they have already secured the deal of the century. He knows their leverage is limited since they are the only ones with enough liquid assets. Deciding to play along, he lists his premium stock and prepares to drain their coffers dry. Chenmo kicks off the auction, watching the room fill with desperate high-ranking guild leaders. This crowd erupts in shock as they realize he is forcing them into a bidding war. One leader fumes, convinced that our boy is just trying to fleece them for extra cash. Another wonders how a simple merchant could possibly source such rare, high-tier loot so quickly. They start suspecting he might be a special event NPC designed to gatekeep their progression. This cat-eared girl jumps the gun, shouting a massive bid to secure the precious awakening crystal. Chenmo just sips his tea, enjoying the absolute chaos he has orchestrated in the room. This other players scramble to identify this mysterious seller, completely baffled by his sudden market dominance. A frustrated guild leader screams about the unfairness of it all. Feeling his control slipping away, he realizes his plans to manipulate the market are ruined, leaving him helpless against Chen Mo. Chen Mo mocks the guild leader's desperate plea for fairness. Keeping his cool under pressure, he calmly sips his drink, warning the man that his patience is wearing very thin, threatening to disqualify the loudmouth if he keeps whining instead of putting up the cash. He officially opens the floor for bids, setting a massive base price for the rare materials. Watching the room with a devious grin, he prepares to watch these fools bankrupt themselves. This bidding war explodes instantly as the leaders scramble to outdo each other with insane offers. Meanwhile, his subordinate is stunned by the sheer amount of gold flowing into their pockets. This frustrated guild leader sees these in silence, realizing he has been completely outplayed by our boy. Chen Mo just keeps refilling his tea, enjoying the show while the competition tears itself apart. Finally, he reveals the ultimate prize, the robot race blueprint, ready to close the deal. This desperate guild leader shouts a massive bid, hoping to crush the competition instantly. Others scramble to keep pace, throwing millions into the pot to secure the rare loot. Chen Mo watches the chaos with a cold smile. Knowing the blueprint is already his, he sips his tea calmly, completely unbothered by the frantic energy filling the auction room. This bidding war intensifies as more players jump in, pushing the price to absurd heights. Everyone is desperate to unlock the robot race, making them easy targets for his scheme. This price climbs even higher, leaving the bidders sweating as their gold reserves start vanishing. Chen Mo signals his teammate, enjoying the sight of these big shots losing their minds. This guild leader snaps under the pressure, furious at the relentless inflation of the price. Our hero just flashes a confident sign, ready to collect his massive payout from everyone. This frustrated guild leader can hardly believe he has been outsmarted by a mere merchant, while the cat-eared girl decides to cut her losses and make a quick, quiet exit. But Chen Mo stops her in her tracks with a single sharp and commanding word, telling her to just leave since he has already set his own terms for the mission. He broadcasts the official quest details to everyone, effectively turning the entire city into his pawns. This system displays the massive rewards for the Blood Demon Spirit mission to every single player. Across the bustling streets of Breeze City, the notification spreads like wildfire among the gathered crowds. Even those deep in the dangerous netherworld zone stop their fighting to read the urgent update. Out in the open fields, adventurers pause their grinding to process the sudden high-stakes event alert. As the entire player base receives the official mission details, Chen Mo watches his trap snap shut. Players across the server are losing their minds over the sudden influx of high-tier gear. While guild leaders scramble to identify the mysterious merchant who is disrupting their entire market, they realize this NPC is operating on a level that completely defies their current game knowledge. And with the new S-rank mission now live, the pressure on these top guilds is mounting. Chen Mo dismisses the crowd, effectively ending the auction and leaving them with nothing but questions. He walks away with his team, leaving the frustrated elites to deal with their empty pockets. This guild leaders grumble about the mission rewards still trying to save face after their defeat. They wonder if the massive investment in materials will actually pay off against the demon threat. Meanwhile, the leadership orders their members to double down and finish the quest at all costs. Chen Mo reports back to his contact, confirming that his part of the operation is complete. Chen Mo negotiates access to Winter Empire territory, ensuring his team can operate without interference. He sweetens the deal by dangling a rare first-rank material as bait for the adventurers. This red-haired contact agrees, noting that local players will handle the heavy lifting for them. A sudden realization hits Chen Mo, reminding him of a crucial detail he nearly overlooked. Having spent ages in this world, he reflects on how easily he adopts the local perspective. He knows that once the players finish this quest, the Blood Demon Spirit's reign ends. Resting briefly, he mentally prepares for the final phase of his long-term strategic plan. This massive dark dragon tower looms over the city, drawing a crowd of eager players. Chen Mo checks the rising player count, impressed by how quickly his trap is filling. With the signal given, he rallies the massive group to storm the objective and finish it. A massive crowd of eager adventurers gathers beneath the towering airship, ready for deployment. This red-haired woman watches the sheer scale of the operation with a hint of concern. Tensions simmer between the two nations as the airship descends upon the desolate, abandoned village. Chen Mo's team arrives at the site, signaling that the time for action is finally here. He gathers the guild leaders, calmly waiting for them to request his strategic guidance. Our boy brushes off the tactical lead, insisting they handle their own internal coordination instead. This leaders realize he is offering official support without interfering in their specific combat maneuvers. He mandates that any information gathered during the mission must be shared freely among everyone. This red-haired woman smiles, clearly confident that she already holds the key to the secrets. Chen Mo steps forward, unfazed by her arrogance since he already possesses the vital intel. Chen Mo breaks down the Blood Demon Spirit, warning everyone about its dangerous health-based recovery mechanic. He highlights the urgency of suppressing the boss before it hits that critical 20% threshold. This guild leaders look visibly shaken, struggling to process the sheer difficulty of the upcoming encounter. One leader grows suspicious, wondering how a mere merchant could possibly possess such deep tactical knowledge. Deciding to settle the leadership dispute, the group agrees to draw lots for the raid order. They pull their sticks with nervous anticipation, leaving their fate entirely up to the whims of chance. This man who draws the lead position steps up, confident in his ability to command the charge. Shenmue notes the composition of the Absolute Shadow Guild, doubting their ability to survive the fight. Meanwhile, the red-haired woman remains unbothered, trusting that her powerful guild will handle the challenge with ease. Shenmue realizes the armored leader is actually an assassin-mage hybrid, completely changing his tactical assessment. Shenmue watches as a group of exhausted players finally arrives at the designated meeting point. They have trekked through the dark, treacherous mountain landscape just to reach this remote village. These players are clearly drained, complaining about the brutal journey they barely managed to survive. Shenmue is genuinely impressed that they crossed the dangerous mountain range to reach him here. He realizes that the sheer, relentless persistence of these players is their most terrifying natural trait. A massive, dark silhouette looms over the gathering as the players prepare for the upcoming raid. This elevator platform descends from the sky, casting a bright artificial light over the waiting crowd. One eager leader offers to scout the area first, hoping to lure the boss out immediately. Shenmue quickly intervenes, noting that the cramped underground tunnels are a death trap for large groups. He decides it is far safer to draw the boss out into the open for everyone. Eager players rush toward the objective, desperate to claim the rewards before anyone else. They charge headlong into the glowing rift, completely unaware of the disaster awaiting them. Meanwhile, the guild leaders order their men to seal the entrance and lock everyone out. Shenmue watches the chaos unfold from a distance, his expression unreadable and calm. Panic ripples through the crowd as the ground shakes, leaving them confused by the sudden tremors. His companion asks what is happening, but he already knows the situation has turned dire. News arrives that the lead team has been completely wiped out in a single stroke. Shock paralyzes the remaining elites as they realize the boss is far stronger than expected. Shenmue keeps his focus, knowing exactly how this nightmare will play out for them. This abandoned village sits in eerie silence, serving as the final stage for his trap. Shenmue gathers the guild leaders to discuss the disastrous failure of their initial raid. They report that the boss is an absolute tank with lethal, unblockable area of effect attacks. This group admits their current strategies are useless against the boss's impossible defensive stats. Tensions rise as they argue over who is responsible for failing to trigger the boss's mechanics. Shenmue reflects on his own past mistakes, realizing he was far too optimistic before. He proposes a brutal strategy of attrition, using waves of players to slowly wear it down. Despite the inefficiency of the plan, he insists it is the only viable path forward. This raid descends into pure chaos as players unleash everything they have in a desperate barrage. Shenmue watches from above as his massive army of 10,000 players swarms the target. He knows the numbers are finally in his favor, yet he senses a hidden danger approaching. Shenmue watches the players struggle to break through the terrain with their basic skills. Realizing that brute force is just a massive waste of time for these impatient adventurers, he instructs his companion to fetch the airship and bring over some high-grade explosives instead. She is completely stunned by his unconventional solution to such a massive environmental obstacle, but he stands by his choice with a smirk. Knowing exactly how to bypass the grind, a massive explosion tears through the landscape, clearing the path in a single loud stroke. He explains that since the game world is destructible, using heavy ordnance is just common sense. Watching the dust settle, he notes that this is only the beginning of his plan. He steps forward with purpose, ready to initiate the next phase of the boss encounter, and rallies 300 players to descend into the tunnels and lure the target out. Shenmue gives the players a final cold warning about the risks of this raid, telling them not to treat their lives as disposable despite the game's respawn mechanics. This eager crowd shouts back in agreement, ready to dive headfirst into the dark abyss. Meanwhile, the girls watch from the sidelines, clearly amused by the merchant's growing influence. Frustrated guild leaders grumble about his constant spotlight, yet they have no other choice. With the command finally given, the massive group plunges into the depths of the tunnel. They rush forward in a chaotic wave, weapons drawn to confront the looming threat ahead. This blood demon spirit towers over them, its presence instantly shifting the mood of battle. One brave player lunges in to strike, only to find his damage output is negligible. As the boss retaliates with overwhelming force, the first casualties begin to drop immediately. Panic sets in as the guild leaders realize their front line is crumbling under the pressure. While the boss shrugs off their combined assault like a minor annoyance in the arena, this massive underground chamber shakes, signaling that the situation is spiraling out of control. Shenmue watches the target lock onto its next victim with a cold, calculated focus. This guild leaders desperately bark orders to maintain aggro, hoping to keep the boss occupied, but their attacks barely scratch the surface. Leaving the demon spirit completely unfazed by them, a massive energy blast erupts, causing players to flee the team in a total panic. This leadership continues to scream commands, trying to salvage the raid before everyone retreats entirely. Players charge in for one last desperate attempt, hoping to land a final lucky strike. Shenmue realizes the boss is about to unleash something truly catastrophic for them all. This blood demon spirit erupts with raw power, dominating the battlefield with terrifying, lethal grace. It channels a massive surge of energy, preparing to unleash a devastating wide-range attack. Players watch in horror as the boss abandons the tunnel to hunt them down directly. A wave of pure destruction sweeps across the area, obliterating anyone caught in its path. This system logs fill with endless death notifications as the raid turns into a massacre. Desperate guild leaders scramble to reorganize their broken ranks while the casualties continue to mount. Shenmue observes the chaos with a detached gaze, noting the boss's overwhelming combat efficiency. This demon spirit remains at near full health, effortlessly swatting away the remaining desperate player squads. Guild members suffer massive experience penalties, forcing them to retreat and recover their lost gear. Chenmo maintains his professional composure, assuring the survivors that his business reputation remains intact. Chenmo reflects on the current raid, noting it pales in comparison to historical crusades. He observes that the players haven't even forced the boss to use its primary recovery. Informing his companion that he is heading out briefly to handle some urgent business, he brushes off her confusion, bluntly stating that the current team is far too weak. Calculating that the boss will only reach the critical health threshold late this evening, he sighs at the inevitable decline in player effectiveness as the attrition war drags on, realizing that finding a specific hidden item is now the only way to secure victory. Meanwhile, the airship fleet becomes a hot commodity as scalpers exploit the desperate player base. Chenmo watches the chaos with a deadpan expression as the transport tickets sell out. He suddenly pauses, having unexpectedly stumbled upon a key individual much sooner than he anticipated. Chenmo arrives at the secluded residence, accepting that this detour is his only option. A mysterious maid named Sylvia greets him at the entrance, clearly wary of his presence. He politely introduces himself and asks to speak with the elusive Master Kamanov. Sylvia remains cautious, opening the door just enough to keep him at a distance. Chenmo offers a respectful greeting to the Empire, playing the part of a humble visitor. She leads him inside, her graceful demeanor masking a deep sense of protective suspicion. He reflects on his past knowledge, realizing the legendary chief magician was hiding in plain sight. Chenmo marvels at the magical architecture, immediately identifying the space-bending properties of the garden. He casually explains his insight, claiming his local upbringing gave him access to these secrets. Sylvia is left stunned by his uncanny awareness, wondering how he knows so much about them. Sylvia warns Chenmo that the master is inside and clearly views him as trouble. She reflects on a dark prophecy regarding her future. Unaware of the visitor's true intentions, Chenmo enters the room to find the legendary Kamanov standing in quiet, solitary contemplation. This system reveals Kamanov's insane stats and his history as the former chief of the Empire. Chenmo offers a respectful greeting while internally noting the massive threat this mage represents. Kamanov immediately demands to know why this stranger is seeking him out by his name. Chenmo ponders why the Empire discarded such a powerhouse capable of neutralizing the demon spirit. This old mage dismisses his presence, claiming his days of involvement in worldly affairs are over. Our merchant calmly corrects him, promising he has no ties to the kingdoms or their politics. He prepares to drop some game-changing news to finally convince the skeptical, powerful old man. Chenmo drops the bombshell that he knows the location of the legendary tequila, leaving the old master and his maid completely stunned by his sudden, specific knowledge. He explains that the rare spirit is held by a president who needs Kamanov's help. Kamanov demands to know the price for this information, his interest finally piqued by greed. Our merchant notes the old man's clear addiction while dangling a path to his breakthrough. Sylvia is visibly shocked that this stranger could possibly offer a solution to the bottleneck. This air crackles with intense magical energy as Kamanov reacts to the impossible, tempting offer. Chenmo stands his ground, unfazed by the raw power radiating from the legendary mage. He plays his cards perfectly, showing he has the leverage to force a serious negotiation. Kamanov finally caves, desperate for the breakthrough and willing to trade his services for it. Chenmo demands the ancient seal scroll, setting strict terms for its temporary use. He warns the old mage that breaking their agreement would have dire, inescapable consequences. Kamanov snaps his fingers, weaving a complex magical seal to bind their new pact. This artifact materializes in the air, glowing with the weight of their magical commitment. Our merchant insists on finalizing the contract before sharing any of his vital information. Kamanov invokes the god of magic, surrounding himself in a brilliant golden ritual circle. His magical energy settles beneath their feet, signaling that the binding process is complete. A surge of power flows directly toward Chenmo, marking the official mystical connection. This seal manifests on his forehead, confirming the contract is now etched into reality. Kamanov realizes with a jolt that Chenmo is already bound by another mysterious agreement. Chenmo explains that the path to victory lies within the dangerous realm of nightmares. He dangles the promise of rare spirits to keep the old master on the hook, revealing the legendary seal scroll that can trap even the most powerful ancient monsters. While pointing out that the mage is currently held back by his own restrictive magical contracts, he warns that the Empire's former glory will fade unless the old man embraces his help. Kamanov tries to dismiss him, but the merchant remains confident in his calculated, manipulative plan, leaving the maid to escort him out while he contemplates the future of the Death Queen. Back at the raid site, the blood demon spirit looms over the struggling player army. This situation turns dire as the boss begins to channel its overwhelming and destructive power, and suddenly the entity enters an invulnerable recovery state, leaving the players completely helpless. Chenmo surveys the wreckage of the raid, lamenting the absolute disaster unfolding before him. Noting that the players are losing levels while barely scratching the boss's massive health pool, he spots a figure approaching across the snowy landscape, breaking his grim, focused observation. A familiar face greets him with a smirk. Clearly impressed by his rapid progress today, his companion rushes over. Curious about what he has been up to during the chaos, he brushes off her inquiry with a playful gesture, keeping his true intentions under wraps. Meanwhile, the guild leaders remain oblivious to his schemes, still trapped in their losing battle. One desperate leader rallies his next squad, shouting orders to continue the feudal grinding assault. Mages unleash a barrage of fiery spells, hoping to finally break through the boss's defenses, but the blood demon spirit shrugs off the magic, its health bar barely moving at all. Shenmue finds the current state of the raid absolutely pathetic and frankly quite embarrassing. Deciding it is finally time to step in and speed up this sluggish encounter, he lunges toward the massive demon with a precision strike aimed at its weak point, landing a clean hit that actually registers significant damage against the boss's thick armor. This stunned players watch in total disbelief as their merchant savior suddenly takes the lead. He casually waves at the terrifying entity, taunting it with a calm and collected demeanor, channeling a surge of radiant energy. He prepares to unleash a devastating counterattack on it. A massive pillar of light erupts, forcing the demon to recoil from the sudden intensity. The surrounding crowd stares in awe as he single-handedly shifts the momentum of the battle, while the boss trembles, realizing it has finally met an opponent who plays by different rules. Watching the raid struggle, Shenmue notes the boss would be easy if not for recovery. While his companions swoon over his cool demeanor, clearly distracted by his sudden sharp focus, they playfully bicker over who gets to admire him more. Oblivious to the looming danger, Shenmue suddenly dives into the fray, landing a precise strike that shocks the entire crowd. He signals for the others to pull back, orchestrating the retreat with practiced, military-grade efficiency. Satisfied with his work, he watches the chaos unfold while keeping his own plans hidden. This demon spirit lets out a deafening roar, signaling that the real challenge is just beginning. As night falls over the frozen peaks, the atmosphere shifts into something much more ominous. This boss stands alone against the remaining forces, its health bar dropping to a critical threshold. Shenmue senses the final phase is starting. Knowing exactly what is about to happen next, Shenmue executes a swift, precise maneuver to gain the upper hand against the massive threat. He commands the remaining players to pull back immediately before the situation spirals out of control. This blood demon spirit prepares to unleash its most devastating ability, radiating pure, lethal energy. Waves of damage tear through the remaining squads as they realize their efforts are entirely futile. Panic sets in among the guild leaders who watch their hard-earned progress vanish in seconds. Shenmue decides that the time for observation has ended and his real work begins now. He brushes off the chaos with a sigh, unimpressed by the lack of coordination from others. Drawing the ancient seal scroll, he channels his power to prepare the final, decisive blow. Golden light erupts as the artifact activates, locking the boss in a powerful binding magical cage. This system confirms the successful containment, leaving the demon spirit completely immobilized for the next half hour. Shenmue channels his energy, unleashing a precise strike that pierces the boss's defenses, dealing a massive blow that finally forces the demon to stagger under the pressure. He rallies the surrounding players, barking orders to keep the offensive momentum going strong. While onlookers complain about the unfair loot distribution, realizing the major guilds are hogging everything, a determined player calls for an elite squad to join him and secure their share. They launch a coordinated assault, chipping away at the boss's health with renewed, desperate fervor. Shenmue watches the chaos with a knowing smirk, having recognized an unexpected ally nearby. Later, he activates a complex magical interface, successfully completing his objective with calm efficiency. This demon spirit finally falls, its form dissolving into pixels as the raid concludes. Having secured his victory, he shifts his focus toward leveling up and selecting a profession. Shenmue contemplates the game's strict profession system. Realizing his martial arts need a specific subclass, he finalizes his decision, knowing this choice will dictate his long-term power scaling and future potential. His companion tries to keep him grounded, but he is already looking toward his next objective. He abruptly announces his departure, leaving her confused as he prepares to head out once again. Explaining his need to reach the Tianwu Empire to break through his current growth bottleneck, she warns him about the dangerous political instability in the capital, where hidden factions are constantly clashing. He acknowledges the chaos but remains determined, sensing that a massive, world-altering secret is finally within reach.